Stress affect you in your diabetes control? Well, not this guy. He's doing just fine, don't you think? He's really got peace of mind, doesn't he? But there's some principles that we see that comes from God's wisdom. So now some people might say something like this: life is so hectic and stressful. I have so much to change and learn, especially if you're newly diagnosed. And I don't think I can do it. I have pain that won't go away. Well, there could be some reasons for that too. But here is a wisdom teaching. Peace of mind makes the body healthy. But jealousy is like a cancer. Okay, that's just one example. Jealousy is like a cancer. Or just being having financial burdens, or relationship conflicts. That could be the other thing you can end that proverb with. But there's some things that we don't need to do. If you can avoid stressful situations, that will be to your health. And I'm going to give you an example of someone who thought he could do this, but he didn't handle it very well. You give thought to your ways. Use the right tools. We've got all kinds of tools for management of diabetes. Help others is one of the ways. Diabetes is serious. There was a headline several years ago in the New York Times that said diabetes underrated, insidious, and deadly. Insidious means seemingly harmless. Seemingly harmless, but it's not. It is harmful. So I'm going to give you the example of drama in the sky to start with here. And let's just see what happens. What was wrong with Christopher? He's got epilepsy. And he decided that he could do that, skydive. But it was such a stressful situation that he ended up having a panic, a seizure. And so I really want to caution, I want to warn you, don't be doing that. That'll drive your blood sugar up to probably 400, no telling what will happen. So you're not going to do it, are you, Barbara? Please, please don't do that.
It looks like fun.
Yes, it looks like fun. And let us know how it is, Mary. Let us know how it goes. So now, I think stress, you need to avoid certain stressful situations if you can. That could have been avoided. Now, there was one person who went to a soccer match to watch his favorite team. He was wearing a continuous glucose monitoring system. When it started, well, the day before he was at about 100 to 150, which is really ideal, almost perfect. And then the next day he goes, and at the beginning of the game, he checks his monitor. All you got to do is just look down at it, just like I'm doing right now. And I don't like what I see. I'm 93 right now. Hopefully I'll be okay, though. I won't have a low blood sugar while I'm up here. But anyway, he started off at 102. 3 hours later, at the end of the game, he was 321. Now, I don't know if his team was almost winning, almost going to win, or almost going to lose. But some stress really affected him in that. Now, if it were me, I'd be monitoring, looking at my continuous glucose monitoring system, probably make adjustments with my pump, with some insulin and all that kind of stuff. But here's what happened to him right there. And it has to do with stress. So what happens when you have stress? Well, your body kind of has a quick burst of energy. Epinephrine, which is, we usually call it adrenaline, puts the body on full alert. And then you have other hormones that set in, like cortisol, which can cause the release, or manufacture it, in fact, glucose in the liver. It releases it. You need the energy, okay? Supposedly you need the energy. You may not, but that's how the body normally functions for a normal person. Now, what can happen is that there's certain hormones that are termed counter-regulatory, and that's what these are. What they do also, they counter the effects and the power of your insulin. They cause a resistance to the insulin in the body. So you need more insulin to be able to handle it. Now, what happens when you get sick? And what should you do? Now, I have a dear friend who got sick. She's on two different kinds of insulin. And she got sick, she couldn't eat. And she didn't even ask me about this. She didn't take her insulin because she wasn't eating. Now, everyone knows, I want you to know, that if you get sick and you cannot eat, you still take your medication. That has just put your body in a lot of stress. And in fact, you may not take if you're taking a bolus before a meal and you're not eating a meal, but you're having a long-acting insulin, well, you always take that, plus you probably increase it during that time. She ended up with COVID, hospitalized, and almost died and all that. And pretty tough for a person with diabetes on insulin, 2 different kinds, to get through that. So stress is a big factor. Here are 3 ways to be able to deal with it. One is gratitude. There's been a lot of research that's been done about gratitude in several different universities, scientific research for the benefits of gratitude. And here's a biblical wisdom teaching. Someone says, you know, what in the world do I have to be thankful about? I feel overwhelmed by all of this. Gratitude, here we see it. I think we see it in this. Good news brings health to the body. Well, what are we usually grateful for? Good news. And so you look for good news that brings health to the body. And what you usually do with the good news, you want to tell someone about it, or you should be thankful for it and really, really give thanks for it. Now, there's 3 areas I want us to look at here briefly. There's research benefits, and I just want to give you a summary of this, of what has been learned from all of this research that's been done. All of this, you seem to be you're more optimistic, you're more connected with people, you get along with people better, you sleep better, which we're going to talk about in a minute. You're more compliant to taking your medication and following a meal plan. You move more. And all of this reduces stress, which really reduces a major hormone, cortisol, that really affects you. So, There are many resources that we have for which we can be thankful, but I want to impress upon you tonight how thankful you should be for all that's available to us today. Now, one person back here said that he's taken a new medication called Januvia. Well, there wasn't anything such thing as Januvia 15 years ago. And there are so many new medications out that are available to people. There used to be nothing that was available. The first oral medication came out in 1956, 4 years before I was diagnosed with diabetes. The only thing people could do if they had diabetes, type 2 or 1, was take insulin with hypodermic needle. That was it. There was no pills. So anyway, I want to go over some reasons why you should really be thankful now. And it will have to do, it'll increase and help us have a better attitude. Like this wisdom teaching, a man's spirit sustains him in sickness, but a crushed spirit who can bear? There was a research study done about 9,000 people with diabetes. 9,000. And it's called the Diabetes Attitudes, Wishes, and Needs Study. There's been 2 of them. There was one study and then a follow-up study.